Greetings of the day. Welcome to Aegis Business Technologies. It's podcast time. Our Biz and Tech podcast series allows us an opportunity to hang out with one of our community partners. I'd like to give a special shout out to executive producer Matt King in the house and Kim, executive director of Lighthouse of the Big Bend. Correct on title?
Correct on title. LBB.
LBB.
Yep.
Before we get started, how about a wonderful technology joke? So there's a hacker running through town and a policeman is chasing him. The policeman loses the hacker. He asks a gentleman on the corner, "Have you seen the hacker?" The gentleman on the corner says, "He ran somewhere." So that's where we're at today with our comedy. Windows 7. Are you still with Windows 7? It's time to think about upgrade. December will be here before you know it. So, go back 10 years. I had the opportunity to participate in Leadership Tallahassee, Class 27, crank it to 11, and I first met Kim. Definitely best class ever. So we were getting to know one another, which consisted of drinking Mad Dog wine. Thank you, Kristen Dozier. Shout out. And Kim and I started talking. And one of the first things we started talking about in the spirit of Leadership Tallahassee and greatness, we started talking about Battlestar Galactica.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
Back in those days, Battlestar Galactica, the reboot, was on television. It was one of the greatest series of all time. And to pair that with the childhood version, really special television, really special TV show. What makes you such a fan of the show? And did you have any real life experiences with the show you'd like to share with our audience today?
I loved the show.
You see how I set that up?
I saw that. Loved the Cylons. The Cylons were terrifying, both as a kid in the 80s and their current version, especially because they can look like us.
Indeed.
How do I know you're not a Cylon? Well, I don't hear the brink.
We can destroy the Pegasus.
So say we all.
So yes, I was telling Blake that my husband Jeremy and I incorporated Battlestar Galactica into our wedding. It was one of the only demand I had was that we had to end the wedding with "So say we all." So everyone that was there stood up and said, "So say we all."
So say we all. So say we all.
That is fracking fantastic.
It was fracking brilliant.
It really was. Did you do anything special with the invitations?
We didn't.
Okay.
We did not. But we did have a Battlestar Galactica cake that consisted of the symbols for the planets Tauron and Virgon, since I'm a Taurus and he's a Virgo, and the Eye of Jupiter on the top of the cake.
That is awesome. Insert whoa sound here. Awesome. Well, after the Leadership Tallahassee retreat, fast forward a couple of years, and Kim invited me to participate in a special day during the summer with her clients. And this day consisted of a Shark Tank-like exercise where your clients got to come up with ideas for their own businesses. But that day really showed me what your organization was all about, and to be your friend and to be your partner in the community is really special. So we want to showcase you guys today and tell us about LBB and what your mission is and take it from there.
All right. Well, we are the only provider in the Big Bend that provides services to people who are blind and visually impaired from birth through life. So we have clients who are newborns, who are born with eye conditions, and we serve a lot of our seniors in the community. And the goal is just to help them live as independently as they want to, whether it's gaining independence that they used to have or becoming more independent at work, whatever their needs are, we're there to provide the service. So and the event you were talking about was something that we partnered with Leadership Tallahassee on. You participated in one day, but it was a 9-day. There were 9 days over the course of that summer that took the Youth Leadership Tallahassee curriculum, and we tweaked it for our teenage clients who were visually impaired. And so they did a mini version of Youth Leadership Tallahassee.
Because to our listeners, imagine complete loss of vision and eating a 3-course meal, which I had never done without sight. And it was a challenge, and it really it really was an awakening for me, and it's a very special event, and I'm glad you all do it. Tell us a little more about your outfit. Do you guys have a store?
Yes, we do. We decided to open a retail store, 2020 Vision Aids, because there was nowhere in town for people to get magnifiers or other pieces of assistive technology. Even something as simple as, they're really popular, they're called level indicators. You put it in your coffee cup, and when the coffee gets to a certain, about a centimeter away from the top, the thing beeps at you.
That's awesome.
We have talking calculators, talking blood pressure cuffs, talking everything, talking alarm clocks, talking watches, all kinds of things in large print, an assortment of magnifiers, different sunglasses. So we figured that was a way to not only provide products to our clients cheaper than they can get them on the internet. We partnered with a supplier. But also I found, because of people in my family, not naming names, when you get to be a certain age and your vision starts to go bad, sometimes you don't want to acknowledge that you are losing your sight. And they don't want to go to that place where the blind people are. Mm-hmm. They don't realize that we serve more than people who are completely blind. Low vision is one of the things we do.
Yeah, when you walked in, I was doing this number.
Yes, you were holding that phone really far away.
I need a bigger font. Definitely need a bigger font app.
So the 2020 Vision Aids was an easier way for ophthalmologists or optometrists or even family members to say, hey, you might be able to use something over there. Here, let's go to the store. And then they come in and they can check out all the products. But at the same time, it's a, non-threatening way of introducing them to what we do.
Last year, we launched the Aegis #1812 campaign. It was something Matt and I worked on. Each month, we spotlighted a local not-for-profit and highlighted the good work that they do in the community. And putting you all in that mix was really awesome.
And we appreciated it. It was very cool to work with
we
you
had
guys.
that special day together, but then to have a whole month to celebrate your organization, put out the tweets. What did you enjoy about that engagement? Do you see a lot of companies doing things like that? Because we like to take a lot of pride in those types of things. So I just want to see your thoughts on that.
I think you guys have taken it to another level, which is wonderful because, as you know, we have a contract with you. We are actual partners. It's not that I'm a nonprofit saying, just give me some money. I'm a charity, give me money. No, I'm a business and I'm contracted for your service and I'm promoting you to all the other people I do business with and to my clients saying like, look, these guys at Aegis are, fantastic and you're returning the favor. I think it's wonderful.
Well, there's buzzwords in our media, authentic engagement, and it sounds played out, but that really is as authentic an engagement as we can get as a company to our partners. I really loved the experience. It was based upon Don Yeager's book, The War of 1812. I was reading it around Christmas 2017, and I was like, 2018, 12 months. Let's highlight a different community partner every month, and so that was born. But you know what I had a really good time with this year was when we collaborated on my Tallahassee Democrat column.
Yes,
and we talked about
cool.
the Be My Eyes app, which I signed up to be a volunteer for. If you don't know about this app, it takes technology to another level with an app. The inventor of the app had problems with vision. And what he did, he would call friends using the FaceTime app and say, hey, what is this? What is that? Well, he took it to the next level by hiring a developer and saying, I want to have a volunteer network that can answer calls and answer these questions. So I'm not calling my cousin and my aunt to ask what color tie this is, that sort of thing.
Right.
And so once I heard about that app, you were the first person I reached out to. I was like, let's dive into this and let's share that with the Tallahassee community.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I love this partnership is so much of what we do at LBB is becoming, more digital and, it's all coming down to technology. We have entire classes, like 3 or 4 classes a week just on how to use an iPhone and all the accessibility features. I mean, you just turn on a button on your iPhone and it'll start talking to you and read everything on your screen. You don't even have to look at it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and I'm working with you guys right now on updating my AT Lab, my Assistive Technology Lab for listeners who don't know what AT is.
Thank you.
And that's all surrounding different technology for people to use to surf the internet, write emails, read emails. It's all screen magnification and screen reader software so they could come in and learn how to use it. They don't, just because they're losing their vision doesn't mean they have to stop emailing, stop reading their favorite blog or anything like that.
And
we just teach them how to use the software.
And they have to get on Twitter.
Right. It'll read all your tweets to you. It's
keep
pretty
tweeting.
cool software. Yeah.
Awesome. Moving on to some other topics. We live in Tallahassee. What do you love about the Tallahassee community?
I love the green space. I love the commitment to the green space. I was just there last night with my dog and Jeremy.
Awesome.
Yeah. I love going home and seeing all the trees. I grew up in Miami. Loved it down there. Beautiful.
Right.
But there were no trees. It was all cement.
That's
Except the
very true.
occasional, coconut tree or palm tree. But we've really, there really seems to be a commitment to it. So I love that. And it's, because of the connection everyone has here. It's a small town, but with a big town feel to it.
Well said. And especially on a day like today, when you walk out of the door at 7:15, headed for our good friends at 93.3 Greg Tish to eat hot wings. Thanks, by the way, Greg, if you're listening. That's the grossest breakfast I've ever had, ever.
I think it sounds good.
We had a fabulous conversation, but the sequence was so wrong. I felt like I should be drinking a beer. I'm like, but it's 7 a.m.
Right.
It was just mass confusion. But it was, as I was trying to get to, a beautiful morning. I mean, today, let's call it the first day of fall. It was absolutely fantastic. But you're right, Tallahassee is beautiful. And if you take into account the bike trails and the proximity to the beach and the beautiful land to our north, it's awesome. So back to sci-fi.
My favorite topic.
What book are you reading right now? And is it a post-apocalyptic thriller or other?
Oh, it's almost always a post-apocalyptic thriller. This time it's not. I'm reading The Overstory. It won the Pulitzer Prize last year.
Oh, nice.
And it is, coincidentally, given my last answer, it's about trees. It's a really, neat story about how the trees are so there's some sci-fi, how the trees are actually communicating with these folks who give up their day jobs and become fighters for the cause to save the giant redwoods.
Oh, that's awesome.
But there's definitely a sci-fi component to it, and it's if you imagine a tree and the rings, the concentric rings, the story unfolds in a similar pattern. It's really neat.
We were actually talking about trees this morning on 93.3 with Greg Tish. See how I say that? Isn't that fun? McClay School gives out a Distinguished Alumnus Award. And this year, one of my classmates, Matt Hill, won the award. And why we chose him was because he gave up a career on Wall Street to move to Madagascar to basically retire. He said, I'm going to set up shop here. This is beautiful. Well, half of his land burned down his first year there.
Oh my gosh.
And nobody was restoring anything. And so he went about studying rainforest restoration and started a foundation called Green Again Madagascar. And he was here all of last week talking to Tallahassee Museum, Tall Timbers, FAMU, FSU, and he was on 93.3 with Greg. We'll see how many times I can say 93.3 in today's podcast. But anyway, you're exactly right. Without trees, no oxygen.
Right.
Let's keep that top of mind. Welcome back, listeners. One of the great things about Tallahassee, as we're talking about green spaces and things like that, is the sense of community here in Midtown. When I lived in Atlanta for years and years and years, interstates, traffic, you would sit at the corner of Piedmont for an hour watching the light turn green, red. Now I live 4 minutes from my home. So I was walking to lunch one day, and I walked past Midtown Reader. Sally Bradshaw has a wonderful bookstore down the street here in Midtown Tallahassee. And I was looking at a Dan Silva book because Dan Silva was coming to town and I love his stories. And one of her staff says, you should check out this book called The Passage. And I'm like, what's The Passage? And I read the back and it doesn't really say what it is, but it's a vampire book, a really scary fracking vampire book. And so I read it. I bought the second one. I bought the third one. And the first person I texted or called was you. And I was like,
yeah, you're like, I have a book.
I have the book.
I have to
for
come by
you.
your office. Okay.
And if you need a book, go read The Passage.
Oh,
it's an
I
amazing
plowed through
trilogy.
it. I'm like, I need more. You were like my pusher.
I'm like, you want some more of this awesome reading? And so if you like vampires, or even if you don't, it's such a unique story. I won't spoil any of it. And then Fox stepped up to the plate and made a TV show out of it. And it was amazing. Freaking Saved by the Bell.
With
Zach
Zach Morris
leading the charge as the cool agent. And then, thanks,
Axed.
Fox.
Axed.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, on a serious note, back to our regularly scheduled program. Tell us what's most important about your organization, and tell us about your recent rebrand.
Oh, rebranding. Okay, so we were Lighthouse of the Big Bend, and we've started noticing, more and more lighthouse companies, churches, other I actually almost went to the wrong nonprofit for my interview for this job. I actually almost went to Lighthouse Children's Home, and
That's a good story.
Yeah, in fact, I was just recently with. Shout out to Full Press Apparel. I was at Full Press getting some stuff done for my rebrand. And Danny Shrine, who I've known for years, was like, until right now, I always thought you worked at the other Lighthouse. I'm like, oh my God, all these years you thought I worked at Lighthouse Children's Home. No.
And for all your branding needs, consider Full Press Apparel.
Right. So, but other organizations like mine, our peer organizations across the country, use the word lighthouse. Some of them don't, but a lot of them do. You have Tampa Lighthouse for the Blind. You have Lighthouse of the Palm Beaches. But here in Tallahassee, we're in such close proximity to a lighthouse that a lot of businesses use that name, and a lot of businesses use the beachy theme of blue and yellow, which is what we had. So we got lost in the mix. People didn't know. I had people dropping off furniture and used stuff on my front porch for a thrift shop we don't have. So if
Well, the way you just described it, I'm picturing the lighthouse with like the little life jacket,
right,
on it.
Exactly. So, in this right now, we're living longer, and we have baby boomers who are getting older, and all the stats show us that, by the time we hit 60 or 70, there's a lot of us that are going to need service. We're all going to experience vision loss. I mean, look, you and I are already holding our phones way out. I'm already, getting increased prescriptions on my glasses.
Yeah, next step, it's either longer arms or, some assistive tech.
Right. And one of the biggest issues with that is people don't think about it, but what is one of the worst things that can happen when you get older is a bad fall. Well, a lot of that happens because people don't see well. They have low vision.
Oh, great point.
Right. So, we teach folks we'll go into their homes and help them rearrange furniture and say, this is how your kitchen should be set up. This is how your living rooms should be set up before their vision loss advances. You don't have, and that's one of the biggest takeaways is you don't have to be blind. There's this misconception that you have to be blind to come and get services from LBB, not Lighthouse, LBB. And that's not the case. The best time to contact us is before you've lost your vision, whether you've been diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa or diabetic retinopathy. If you have something that is going to get worse, the best time is, okay, I still have vision. Let us teach you safe travel skills. Let us teach you the bus system and how to get from here to here, how to use an Uber with the accessibility features on your phone, how to cook safely, how to clean safely before you actually lose that vision. And if you're already low vision because you just happen to be at that age where our eyes don't work as well, there are so many things we can teach. We have a group of seniors who come several times a week, and it just sounds like a party in there. They're cooking. And it's all lessons. Like, okay, we're going to cook this today. They cook.
That's
then
fun.
So they have a really good time.
That's a very cool community.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So, we needed people to be able to find us, and rebranding was one of the ways. It was, if people can't find us, we can't provide those services. And based on census data, people saying in the census that they have a vision issue, there's over 14,000 here in the Big Bend. I've served 400. That's a huge...
Those numbers are staggering.
Right. And so, we need funding to serve all those folks. We're doing we're getting creative, generating revenue, but we need, those people are out there and they could use our help. So I hope they don't get shy. Just come on in.
Awesome. Well, thank you for everything you all do for our community. Thank you for being our guest today.
Thanks for inviting me. This is pretty cool.
One closing comment comes to mind when I was at the Chamber Conference this summer. We did a CEO panel with a couple of other organizations, and Sue Dick asked the group, what do you take the most pride in your job? And having a small role in an organization like yourself is one of those pride points. And we're so happy to be a tiny part of your noble organization. And thanks again for everything you do for our community. Thank you, Matt King, for being Executive Director, Supremo Maximo. That's a wrap for our Aegis podcast today. Biz and Tech, episode 3, coming at you next month. Until then, enjoy the fall, watch some college football, and check out LBB. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.